Right. Good morning and welcome, everyone. We are privileged to have DF Akademie's coach with us. Good morning. How are you, sir?
Good, thanks in yourself, and thank you for having me on the show.
Yes, good. Steve, do you want to start us off?
Yes, on the 15th of August, you've got a big day on. It's the inter-schools, and I believe it's one of the oldest inter-schools also in the area, DF Malan Akademie versus Belville. Just describe to the viewers a typical scenario of what exactly happens on the inter-schools on a yearly basis between you two schools.
Well, to be honest, it's my first year as a head coach for the inter-schools game, so it's something as a first for me. But I do believe there's a lot of different sporting codes. I think there's
Yeah,
netball, there's hockey, there's rugby, and there's I think a few cross country or cycling and things like that. So I think the rivalry is good to have it because between the two schools, you end up pushing each other to see, who can be more competitive year in and year out. So it's a fantastic opportunity for both schools, even the communities as well, to come together around the sport.
Right.
brilliant.
And you are the coach of the first team, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And what is your coaching philosophy towards the boys?
Well, to be honest with you, at this stage, it's just to improve and to try and get better on the basics. I find that we have a lot of boys at a senior level that struggle with the basics due
Mm,
to their primary school development
yeah,
and possibly coming through under 14 and under 15 in the years in the past. Maybe there wasn't a focus on certain fundamentals. So for me, it's just to improve on getting the basics right and then trying to build on that.
yeah.
I find it hard to get kids to play a certain structure or style of rugby if you can't catch and pass.
Well,
I
You
yeah.
know,
agree.
so get the basics first, and then we can be fancy, as they call it.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Steve?
Yeah, and what league are you currently participating? Just to explain to the viewers the league.
I think it's like a Super B, your
Okay.
Premier B school. So we play the likes of Melkbos, Strand, Parelvallei, Milnerton,
Yeah.
Tygerberg, Bellville. We have Punt coming up when schools open as well. So it's a decent sort of a league and also very competitive as well.
Mm. Right. And with all the other coaches we've interviewed, I always ask this one specific
Mm.
question. During a game, where are you? Are you next to the field? Are you behind the posts? Are you in a coaching box? Are you sitting on the pavilion?
Well, not in the pavilion. It's always nice to be next to the field. And it's funny you asked the question because times have changed. Back in the day, you
Mm.
had to sit in the box in the halfway line. Now you've sort of got an option to be on the halfway line or behind the poles.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for me personally, I like to try and be on the halfway line because then you can sort of communicate to the players whether they attacking or defending on either side of the field. If you sit behind the poles and your team is in the opposition's half on the 22, you can't really give any instructions because you know
True.
they're the field from you. So for
Right.
me, I think it's nice to sit at the halfway line.
Okay. All right. Steve?
How has the season been for DF Malan Akademie, and how is the preparation for the coming inter-schools?
Sure. I think we've come a long way from where we've started. I believe previously the school didn't really have much of a preseason.
Okay.
And if you don't have a preseason, then you don't have much of a season in itself because you spend the whole season trying to still develop the players and get the basics and the
True.
structure going. So we started early last year and we played at the Six Gun Festival just to have a look at what players we still have for this season with the many matric boys leaving. And I think on a whole, we started the season so far really well
Yeah.
compared to where we were. I've had to
Okay.
change a bit of the conditioning structures, the style of play, the discipline has also changed, which has been
Brilliant.
important. And yeah, we've come a long way. We haven't managed to get as many results over the line.
Okay.
But if I have a look at the way we've played, We
Yes.
just able to finish. For example, Belville have, when we played them, they've been unbeaten the whole season.
Yeah.
True.
And we played them away in a really tough game, and the halftime score was 14-10 to DF.
Brilliant.
And the final score, I think, was 38-22 or something like that. And then we went away to Porterville. We were 15-0 at halftime, and we came back and drew the game 22-all. So many of our results have been positive, just not getting over the line.
Okay.
So I think at the moment we have done well in terms of improvement from where we've been. We might not have won some games compared to last year, but we are heading in the right direction. And we've got 3 games before we play inter schools. And luckily for us, those games are all at home. So it allows us to try and build some consistency and momentum. And that inter schools game is also at home. So, it would be nice for us to just build consistency and the boys to start believing in themselves. I also said to one of our coaches, it's so nice to get to this part of the season and the boys understand what you want and how to play, because you've spent 6 months already working on structure and pattern of play and stuff. So it's coming together. Just hopefully we can finish the season on a high.
Right.
Brilliant.
And what kind of coaching style do you adopt? More like a expansive game, or are you more of a tight game, or the tight 5? What is your kind of coaching style?
I like to play an expansive game, a running rugby.
Right.
I think times have also changed from that copper stump rugby of bash, bash, bash.
Yes.
So I've tried to just bring in a few new elements, and then obviously the boys play what's in front of you, but
Yes.
also trying to stick to the structure in which we would like to play.
Right.
So having said that, for the last 6 months, we've improved in a new type of system compared to what the boys have been playing previously. We've had to up the conditioning in order to be able to play that style of rugby. So I like to play a bit expansive rugby, but also you've got to play with what you've dealt with. The boys that you've got to work with them around that system.
Right. Steve?
I remember in my years, I grew up in the Cape and I played for Swanswijk's under 15 A team. And, in our days, a lot of rugby was focused on the forwards, kind of forward style, tight head. And I think it's also a typical South African culture, focusing on, almost that kind of old school 10-man rugby. But will you say that, especially now with schoolboy rugby has grown so much, will you say that the style of rugby has been forced to change, that people, as you said, moves towards a more kind of expansive style, or is the kind of classic forward style also still very prominent in school rugby?
I think the forward style of rugby is still very predominant in most schools. I also think with certain schools, you can only play a certain style of rugby based on the type of players you also have.
Exactly.
You don't have big forwards, then you can't play the forward style of rugby. And if you want to have quick backs or players with good handling skills, then you also can't play an expansive type of game. So you try and find a balance based also on the players you have and the skill level that they have. Sometimes I also find it's a bit challenging to upskill a boy and then he's leaving in 2 months because he's in matric. So you've worked so hard to get a boy to a level and then he leaves school. So now you've got to focus on what's left behind for the following season.
Exactly.
So trying to find a balance, I think, with some schools is important based on the type of players you have and also their skill level. And also the rugby IQ, I think, is also just as important.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Are you teaching at the school as well, or are you just coaching rugby?
I'm currently just coaching rugby, but we've also sort of started a DF Rugby Academie. So it's a platform for kids from under 10 to under 13 to train at the school, get the basic fundamental coaching, and then also a pathway for them to get into the high school when they apply for high school. So to create a pathway where a boy is 12 years old, goes to a school where he doesn't learn the basic fundamentals, but can learn it at DF, and then he would like to come to DF for high school. Then we've already
That's
made a
right.
foundation, and we've already prepared him for when he comes to under 14. Then we have a platform that, we've taught him a bit of skills, because it's a bit difficult also for the under 14 coaches to get a bunch of new boys, some that can catch and pass and some that can't catch and pass, which delays that under 14 development in the season, because you're
Yes.
still trying to upskill half your team. And by the time everybody's on a level, then the season has ended.
True.
So,
Yeah.
Steve?
Yeah, obviously the unique thing about schoolboy rugby is that every year it's almost you have to start afresh. Where with senior rugby you can build basically a team, for 5 or 6 years, and you can still have the same structure of players. But with that, bearing that dynamics in mind, what would you like to leave behind at DF Malan? Where would you like to be in the next 5 years at DF Malan Akademie as a first team?
So I'm very optimistic that maybe 5 years is a bit too far, but I would like at least in the next 3 years for us to compete, maybe at North South, or get an invitation to World Club, because then it shows that we're moving and we're heading in a direction where we can compete. If I could go there next year to World Club, I would love to go. I'm not playing the top schools, obviously, but also for us to be heading in a direction. And what I find is, especially within the community around the school, many boys opt to go to the bigger schools like your Paul Ross, Paul Gim, and Boys High, based on the fact that they feel in the past nothing has been happening at DF. So the question becomes, why DF is a great academic school and it's a very competitive school, but because they're not in a Premier A league, boys opt not to come to DF, but they would rather go to a bigger school, which means we sort of get your under 13 B or C boys from top schools who come to the school for academics, not necessarily for rugby. But if we get those opportunities to go to a World Club and to go to a North-South, then those boys also have a two-minded idea of, do I go, for example, to Boys High and play under third or fourth team, or do I go to DF and play first team, based on the fact that both of them are playing at World Club? If I go to Boys High and play fourth team, I'm not going to go to World Club. But if I go to DF and play first team, and DF is going to World Club, it's an opportunity for me to get experience and exposure, and everybody wants.
Yeah,
exactly.
And from a coaching perspective, do you want to coach at Craven Week or even go higher, or are you quite happy to be at the school at the moment?
I'm very happy to be at the school because they're very supportive, and they see there's a goal and there's a plan. And I think for every coach, you aspire to try and grow and develop and coach at a higher level, meaning at Western Province and Springbok level and so on. I just find that there's a lot of politics that's involved around that, and also a little unfairness to some ways. I mean, if I'm being very honest, I started NTK Youth Academy in 2019, and I coached there for 5 years. And that's at junior level. And I never got an opportunity to coach at Craven Week or Western Province under 12 because I'm not involved specifically in a primary school. And for me, that's to an extent a little unfair because I'm dealing with primary school kids, So therefore, you should also get the same opportunity. And when I talk about politics, I find that some coaches for 2 years coach Western Province, for example, at under 12, and then they moved up to Western Province under 13, and they moved to Western Province under 13B, and then they moved to under 12B. So nobody else gets an opportunity because like those coaches are being circled within the age groups. So it makes it challenging and sometimes a bit frustrating. But for me personally, I want to try and take DF to a different level where we can compete and just be better. And hopefully that brings some recognition for somebody to say, hey, let's give him a shot as a Western Province coach or an academy coach or whatever the case.
Good. Oh, that's very good. And Steve, do you have a question?
Yeah. In terms of community, how has the involvement been from the community in general, and what kind of message would you like to give to the community for future involvement?
Uh, I think the community has been disappointed and let down, if I must be honest, because I think the 2019 season or the 2021 season has been very productive for DF. They did very, very well with rugby. And then rugby sort of declined every year where the results weren't so good. I'm not sure if the coaches were changed frequently. So there wasn't any continuity, and trying to build something.
Mm.
And now I think there is a bit more support because
Okay.
it's the name of the school has also changed. There's been a new headmaster that comes in who is very optimistic and supportive of all the sports. And then me also being a new coach coming in, I think in the beginning some were questioning whether I was the right person, but I think now they've begun to see the improvement. It's
Yeah.
just now to try and get results.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to see a winning team. Everybody wants to see their kids improve.
Yeah.
But if you're not getting over the line, then there's always going to be a question. So I think the
Yeah.
community is very supportive because they want to see DF do well
Yeah.
and go in the right direction. But
Great.
again, you only make your supporters happy with wins.
Yes, but also, I mean, I'm a teacher myself as well. And um, with teaching, it's especially when you learn or teach a language, some of the parents expect their child to go into the English class. Tomorrow they must speak the whole English language. That's not going to happen. And I think it's the same with sport as well. I mean, you need to sit there and yes, every 2 or 3 years the players change because they go out of matric and things like this. But I mean, for you as well, it's not going to happen overnight. And I think for you, it's probably to have sleepless nights and think, how are we going to get these guys to get over the line? But I think also within losing, it teaches you something as well to go out and enjoy the game. Um, because I remember when we were in grade 12, we played fifth team, Steve and myself. And the one game Steve didn't play, and we played against Kez, and we lost 47-0. And the headmaster asked me, so what was the score? And I said 47-0. He thought it was to us. I said, no, 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 to them. He said to me, get out of my sight. But at the end of the day, even though we lost, we got a hammering, but I was happy because we had such fun. And that is what rugby to me is all about. Even if you play first team, even if you play for the bigger schools, it does not matter. That enjoyment still needs to be there. And I think, how are you trying to put that balance of, okay, you need to win, but also enjoy the game. If you lose, it's okay. How do you balance all of that?
I think how you manage, sorry, how you manage it is more
Mm,
important.
yeah.
Because for me, I'm a new coach. It's a new style of rugby. It's a new culture that I'm involved with. It's a new string of boys. Um, so how you manage your players, I think, is important. I had a coach that always said to me that I used to ask him, how do you become a good coach? And he said to me, it's not about becoming a good coach, it's becoming a good person.
Yeah.
And when your boys respect you, when they can laugh and joke with you, but when they can also cry with you, that's
Yes.
important because
Yes.
finding that balance is such a fine line. I sometimes think your players have got to hate you to also love you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They hate the fact that they've got to do shuttles and Broncos, but
Yeah.
they love the
Mm.
fact that they can talk to you and that they can learn from you and that they can grow from you.
Yes.
And when you have that culture and when you have that character, I think coaching becomes so much easier.
Yeah.
And then the boys also start backing themselves because you back them. If I
Yes.
look at a game that we played this season and I compare it to last year we played Milnerton away and we lost 88-5, I think it was. This year we played Milnerton at home and we lost 32-24 or something like that. It wasn't
Wow.
a bad game, but there was a
Yeah,
lot of fight in the game. Even when
exactly.
we played Tigerberg and they were leading, I think 19-0, they beat us 27-24.
Yeah.
And also the character that you bring with the kids and who you are is important also for their stability in their growth in terms of loving the game. Some
Yes.
kids come from different environments and different backgrounds, and what you bring is something different. And if you can try and master being a better person to the boys, listening to them, also understanding what are their frustrations, that helps you
Mm.
start, for me as a former player as well, start liking the game because my coach believes in me. When I make
Yes.
mistakes, he doesn't swear me. He
Yeah.
helps me to get over the fear of tackling or whatever the case may be. So
Mm.
the love of the game, I think, comes out of you as a coach.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think some guys coach for money.
Yeah.
Some guys coach because they at a big school, and then
Mm.
some guys coach for the love of development, the love of trying to make a
Yeah.
difference, of trying to better players. And when your players can see you doing it because you love it, then they also begin to have that love for the game and the passion of the game to go out. And whether we win or lose, we can still bounce back. And when they
Yeah.
see the fact that you come from 88-0 to a 38-28, can you see that difference, of that character? Again, for me, it's how you manage the process.
Mm. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Steve?
Um, it's actually going to join with Louis' question also and what we've touched on. And, from the 90s and, since I've been watching rugby, it's incredible the growth in schoolboy rugby. It's a completely different kind of scenario now that we've got. I mean, in our years, to think about buying players was absolutely unheard of. I'm sure the biggest schools may have done it, but nowadays, school rugby has become so professional, it's actually scary. Would you say it's a healthy thing? It's a good thing? Because we've done it now for 2 years, and we've even had members, criticizing us for putting too much pressure on the players, exposing them to professionalism. But will you say it's a good thing that South Africa rugby is heading into, all this kind of input in schoolboy rugby?
Sure, that's, yeah. For me, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing,
Yeah,
because if you have a 16-year-old playing rugby just to get a bursary rather than for the love of the game, then I think it's for the wrong reasons. But if you're doing it
yeah,
to actually give somebody an opportunity, I mean, if you come from a location school and you go to a big school, then it's okay to give somebody a bursary because he comes from nothing and you're giving him a platform. But if
absolutely.
somebody comes from a big school, primary school, and going to a big high school and is getting a bursary, and it might, one or two kids, maybe you can get away with. Some of the
Yeah,
schools get 16 to 20 boys on a bursary,
Mm.
which I think kills the motivation of it.
true.
You know, so it's a touch and go process. I know at DF we don't offer bursaries because they've never ever had it in the past. I'm not sure if it's something they will look into in the future because again it's an academic school.
Yeah,
So it becomes a challenge for some schools.
Okay.
absolutely.
And, just to get back to where you talk about the love of the game, and even if they make mistakes as well. Now, I see this with my students as well. I mean, I am not the best teacher by no means, but my students stay with me because I've put that passion and to not ask, but to show them and guide them to have a love for the language of English. And yes, they make mistakes, but I'm not going to tell them they are stupid, they can't speak the language, nothing like this. We would rather laugh about it. And as you said, they would come to you, they come to me as well with problems at school, problems at home, problems with friends, for example. And I tell them always, I'm not just your teacher, but I'm your friend as well. And I think if you create that safe environment, you can achieve so much more. Would you agree?
Yes, yes, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. the end of the day, you're building a relationship.
Yeah.
You know, you
Correct.
want to first and foremost better that individual person for after school
Yes.
rather than just for rugby.
Yeah.
If he gets an opportunity after school to become a professional athlete, then great. But if he doesn't get that opportunity, what type of person are you sending into the world that comes out of your hands? You know,
Correct.
so for me, it's to develop the right character within the boys, and then you try and get the right results out of them as well.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely. I agree on that one. Steve?
I've got no further questions. From my side, I just would like to wish you well. I can't wait for the 15th of August, and hopefully we can catch up again. I'll be there with my crew, so hopefully we can catch up there for a follow-up on the day kind of interview.
Yes, it will be great to meet you guys and have a chat, definitely.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And what I'm going to do, because you have your interschools with School Belville, I've decided for our magazine for the month of August, I'm going to feature DF Academy and Belville. And once I'm done with all, I'm going to send it to you. Please check, and then we take it from there. And then you guys will be featured in August.
No problem. Thank you very much. I'm sure it'll be good for us to get that little bit extra exposure, and
Yes.
adds a bit of pressure for us as well, which is also a good thing.
And thank you again for your time. It was great meeting you.
Absolutely.
No problem. Thank you guys, and all the best with your show. I'm sure we will share it within the school, and I'm sure the parents will also try and follow it to try and keep up to date.
Thank you
so
very
much.
much.
Thank you
Have an
guys.
awesome day. Thanks,
Bye.
Bye.